Imagine waking up one morning and finding out someone bought a $50,000 car in your name. The loan, the payments, the debt, all tied directly to you. That's exactly what happened in this shocking case of identity theft. A criminal was able to gather just enough personal information to impersonate a man, walk into a dealership, and drive away with a brand new vehicle while the real victim had no idea. By the end of this episode, I'll show you how it all unfolded, what the victim went through, and most importantly, what you can do to protect yourself so it doesn't happen to you. For those of you who are new here, I'm Lance the PI. I've been a private investigator for over 25 years, and before that, I worked more than a decade in law enforcement. Over my career, I've investigated cases of frauds, scams, stolen identities, and financial crimes that left victims struggling for years. My mission here is to identity theft stories, is to break down real cases so you can see exactly how these crimes happened, how victims got blindsided, and how you can guard yourself against the same traps. Let's start with the setup. Our victim in this story was an ordinary man living in a middle-class neighborhood. He had a steady job, decent credit, and no history of fraud or financial trouble. He did what most of us do, filled out forms, paid bills online, and trusted that his information was safe. But somewhere along the way, his data ended up in the wrong hands. Maybe it came from a past data breach, maybe it was collected from public records, or maybe it was purchased through one of the hundreds of people search websites that sell personal details to anyone with a credit card. The truth is, once your information is out there, you often have no way of knowing exactly how criminals got it. What the thief had was enough to become the victim on paper. He had a full name, social security number, current address, and even past addresses. With those details, he could answer basic credit verification questions. He could fill out loan applications. He could pass as the victim in situations where nobody bothered to check his photo ID closely. That's the scary thing. Most financial institutions rely on the information you type on a form, not on a deep investigation of who you are. Now let's move to the crime itself. One afternoon, the thief walked into a car dealership. He wasn't nervous. He didn't look suspicious. He carried himself like a normal customer. Clean clothes, confident tone, paperwork ready. The salesman, he was just another guy looking for a car. The thief pointed to a sleek, brand new vehicle on the showroom floor. Price tag more than $50,000. He said he wanted to buy it. The dealership, eager to make a sale, handed him the standard loan paperwork. Using the victim's information, the thief filled out the forms, name, date of birth, social security number, current address. All of it matched the victim's real identity. When the dealer ran the credit check, the system pulled up the victim's credit file. And what did it show? A solid history. No red flags, no outstanding debt, just the kind of profile that screams approved. Within minutes, the loan application went through and the criminal was handed the keys. He drove off the lot in a vehicle worth more than most people make in a year. Meanwhile, the real victim was at home, living his ordinary life. He had no idea what had just happened in his name. There was no phone call, no text alert, no email. The bank considered this just another auto loan, nothing unusual. For weeks, he remained in the dark. Then the first letter arrived, a payment notice from the finance company he had never heard of. At first, he thought it was junk mail, but when he looked closer, his stomach dropped. The letter was addressed to him at his address, listing him as a borrower on a $50,000 auto loan. The payment due, nearly $800 a month. Shock turned into panic. He never bought a car. He never signed those papers. Yet here was a legal contract tying him to a debt that could ruin his financial life. He called the finance company immediately. "That isn't me. I never purchased a car. There's been a mistake." But on the other end of the line, the representative was unmoved. Their records showed a signed loan agreement. The information matched, and as far as they were concerned, he was the borrower. They told him he needed to make the payment or face collections. Within weeks, the situation snowballed. Collection letters began piling up. His credit score plummeted by more than 100 points. That drop meant higher interest rate on future loans, denied applications for credit card, and even problems with simple things like applying for a new cell phone plan. Financial stability that had taken years to build was wrecked almost overnight. The stress was overwhelming. Imagine checking your credit report and seeing a $50,000 loan you never agreed to. Imagine receiving calls from debt collectors demanding money for something you never touched. It wasn't just about numbers on a paper. It was about sleepless nights, constant anxiety, and the fear that no matter how much he explained, nobody would believe him. Eventually, law enforcement stepped in. Investigators contacted the dealership and requested all records. That's where the cracks began to show. The signature on the loan paperwork didn't match the victim's real signature. Security cameras showed footage of a man test driving the car, signing the papers, and driving away. The problem was obvious. The man in the video looked nothing like the victim. It was a completely different person, yet the paperwork had all the victim's information on it. This is where identity theft becomes especially cruel. Victims often have to work harder to prove their innocence than criminals did to commit the fraud. The victim wrote letters to the finance company, contacted credit bureaus, and filed disputes. Each process was slow. Each step required proof after proof. And during that time, the collection calls never stopped. In the meantime, investigators tracked down the thief. The stolen car was located and the suspect was arrested. He was charged with multiple counts of fraud and identity theft. For the criminal, it was just another scheme gone wrong, but for the victim, the damage wasn't done. It took months, even years, to fully restore his credit. He had to submit affidavits, prove over and over again that he never purchased the car, and live with the constant fear that another debt would appear under his name. Now let's step back. How does something like this happen? Identity theft isn't always a sophisticated hack. Sometimes it's as simple as criminals buying your information from a shady website. Data brokers collect and sell details about millions of people. They gather your name, address, phone number, relative, even parts of your financial history. To a criminal, that information is gold. They can use it to apply for loans, open credit cards, or commit tax fraud. And this case isn't unique. I've seen people lose homes, face wrongful arrests, spend years fighting debts they never created. In one case, a woman's social security number was used to open credit cards in multiple states. By the time she discovered it, her credit report was 40 pages long with accounts she never opened. In another case, a man's stolen identity was tied to utility bills across 3 different cities he had never even visited. Those stories may sound extreme, but they're happening every single day. So what can you do to protect yourself? First, monitor your credit report regularly. You're entitled to free credit reports from Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. Space them out so you can check one every 4 months. That way you're always keeping an eye on suspicious activity. Second, consider placing a credit freeze if you're not actively applying for loans. A credit freeze makes it harder for criminals to open accounts in your name. Third, be mindful of where you share your social security number. Not every form requires it. Don't give it out unless it's absolutely necessary. And here's the most important step. Remove your personal information from the internet. The less exposure your data has, the less fuel criminals have to steal your identity. That's why I recommend DataSeal. DataSeal scrubs your personal details from people search websites and data broker databases. There are sites criminals use to collect information about you. By limiting your exposure, you make yourself a harder target. Think of it this way. You lock your doors at night to protect your home. Why wouldn't you lock down your personal information to protect your identity? Too many victims in cases like this one we've just covered believe it could never happen to them, but it can, and it does. So if you want to protect yourself, take action now. Click the link in the description and see how DataSeal can help you take back control of your information. Prevention is always easier than recovery. I'm Lance the PI. Thanks for watching this episode of Identity Theft Stories. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss future cases of scams, fraud, and identities that are stolen. And remember, your identity is valuable. Don't let someone else steal it.